Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and today we're here with a little project that basically I need to rebuild my stash of something I use for my ephemera and other things like my art journal, and I thought I'd take you along and show you what I do. And I make paper butterflies. Now I like to use ephemera that either I've altered to look like my own or I make my own to start with. But sometimes just using what's readily available in the market and amending it or adjusting it also gives some pleasant results. So let's get straight on this. What are we going to need? Okay, I have papers. Now, these are roll-offs from my brayer, from my gel printing. These are a couple of small patterned these are from an origami pad, but they could be anything like from a paper pad or any scraps. I've got book pages and music pages, and I've got this little one which basically just happened to be on the top of this, which is my scrap drawer, and it just goes to show I could have gone through here and pulled a lot more out, like even things like that would work. But it's a way of using up stuff that you might have a lot of, like goodness knows, I wouldn't like to say how many book pages I have. Now, there are different ways I have to treat things to be able to do what I'm going to do. All of these do not need gesso, okay? That's just my opinion, because they're already printed, they're already got stuff on them that's not a problem. These are a little bit thin, and I could conceivably gesso these if I was going to paint them afterwards, butterflies, but if I'm just using them straight like this, it's fine. I'm only going to gesso the front. I'm going to show you how I do that because it's a quick, easy method. I only need a really thin film of it anyway. The backs can be left as they are because they're going to be stuck to another surface anyway. The gel prints, obviously I use acrylic paint, so those are already protected. You could use anything you want really to do this, guys. I'm just trying to inspire the options for you. So I'm going to bring in, now I've got a bit of a clean mat here. Anyone who asks me what this is, by the way, this was twice this size. When I bought it, I thought it was one of those heat resistant, stay clean mats that Tim Holtz uses. I didn't realise till it arrived that actually I bought a rip-off version on either Amazon or eBay, and I ended up with something that was a lot less what it was supposed to be. It was in a tube and it was all crushed and crinkly. I was a bit annoyed at that, and then I ended up going, you know what, I don't need it anyway. So I ended up having a cheap version of it, and I just cut it in half. But you can, I mean, I know that you can buy like these silicone sheets in the baking aisle for baking biscuits and cookies on, and they're not a one-use thing. You can use those as well, or you could just use a bit of magazine paper. So let's talk about the papers. Oh, this is a new-ish book. Like, it's not a vintage book, so it's quite a robust paper. I will be gessoing this anyway, and there are reasons for that. This is a slightly older hymnal type book or music book. I would definitely gesso that. When we get down to things, I think this looks like Italian paper. It's really thin. You can see the light through it. Again, this is an older book. And when you get to this age where they're yellowing, you really need to do it. And the reason you do it is because you may choose to use wet mediums on the butterflies after you've made them. Like, you could paint them, you could watercolor them, you could ink them, you could do stuff like that. And if you just leave it as regular book page, it's just going to crinkle and it may fall to pieces. So I've just got cheapest chips acrylic. I buy this from a company here called The Works, theworks.co.uk. It's £5 for the jar. This is a huge tub of gesso and lasts a very long time. And it's got something stuck in it, which it doesn't need to have. So the only bit I'm really focusing on is the bit that's got the text on it. I've just got a store card or a door key, whatever you call it, and I literally want to put this on. It will knock the print back a little bit, as it won't be as visible. But as you can see, I'm not obliterating it. I'm literally just giving a thin coat just to seal the book page from any moisture that I may choose to put on it. So as you can see, that's a really, really thin coat, and you can still see the book page. So bear with me, I just need to do a few of these because I make it a habit whenever I'm doing something, if I can make several of them, I make several of them, because why not? It's just enhancing my stash of elements that I can use. And if I've got everything out to use, I'm going to go ahead and make several. I'm very much of the mass make opinion. If I'm going to make one book page into tag backgrounds, why not make 20 into tag backgrounds? No, I don't have to make tag backgrounds for the future or the immediate future. So you can see already how floppy some of these papers get when they get wet. The more modern papers, however, are a lot more robust. So I find things like cookery books or books that are meant to be opened and handled a lot, like cookery books, gardening books, things like that, will actually be a lot more robust because they're meant to get wet. So, or they're meant to be handled. They're more robust. Let's do this side. So now, when I actually use these, any of these areas here that don't get used will then go into another basket. And what I do with those is I stamp words and numbers and stuff on them just to keep the recycling thing going. And it also means I then have numbers and words or sentiments stamped ready to go that I can use without having to buy them from anyone. I've already got them, because I would say nearly every one of us have got stamps of some sort within our stash. Okay, so that's my first stage. I would normally, if I was doing this, I'd probably pull out 10 or 15 of these pages and just gesso them all, and then I know that I've actually got them already prepared to go. If I'm using gesso for something else, I would always have some spare book pages left, because if there's any spare gesso on the go, I will use it just for this. Right, this can all go by. Now, I'm going to pause you for 2 seconds. I just want to dry these book pages before I go to the next stage, because it's advisable for them to be dry. Okay, back in 2 seconds. So there you go, they're all dry. Now I just use my heat gun. Normally I use a hairdryer, but I needed a heat gun out for the next stage anyway. What I would say is just remember, and I know that no one's a fool here, but sometimes it's just worth reiterating things. These are book pages. These old book pages are very brittle. This is heat. Heat plus paper sometimes causes fire. You'd be surprised how quickly you can scorch an old book page. So just bear that in mind, okay, guys? Just in the back of your mind. So I'm not going to make all of these up into butterflies. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to make 2 butterflies. So let's just tear this off, because I'm going to do a bigger one. And let's do, should I do a music one? Actually, no, let's do this one. I like the look of this. So what I'm doing is I'm just tearing these purely to get them off my table. These now will go into a box ready for me to actually make into butterflies. Once I've finished filming this video, I will make them into butterflies. Now, you can do the same thing as I'm going to do, and I'm going to emboss my butterflies. You can do the same thing with flowers. You can do it with stamps, whatever stamps you've got. This is what I'm going to do with them. So I normally break my stamps down into collections. So I need that for later. So I never actually know where they come from. So I'm going to try my darndest to tell you, but please don't ask me. If I haven't mentioned it in the video, it means I don't know. Right, this is a set that was of my local Hobbycraft, and it was in the sale area, and it's got this enormous butterfly in it. This is obviously an Edith Holden licensed product that they're using there. So nice product. I was drawn to it because A, I like the leaves, and I like that flower. I like the butterfly, I like the mushroom. Probably wouldn't use that. Maybe I'll use a bee at some point in the future. So always look out, or just go back through your stash. You might have some of these already. This stamp, I have no idea where I got it from. I have had this years, and it's my favorite stamp for butterflies. These are just a mix match of butterflies from different companies, and all I've done is I've stuck them on the same page. This here, the little one, is the one I use a lot for making ephemera. In fact, we might pull that one out, to be honest with you. So, so I just keep them in collections. This one is by this company, Just Right Cling, Butterfly Dreams. It's made in the USA. Just Right Papercraft. It was this set. This is another really nice butterfly. I like using that. Nice curls and swirls here. This is relatively new for me. I think I got this in an eBay auction, so that's that one. And then there's this one, which is my favorite large butterfly. Absolutely adore this butterfly. And this comes from a Welsh company that's called, oh God, what's it called? Image. Oh, image something. I can't remember called. Design Image. I will do a bit of research and find out what this company is called, because it's completely escaped my brain. I will put it in the description box, guys. The name of this company, it's either Image Design or Design Image or something like that. They have this butterfly select. They have a lot of different stamps, basically. I will try and find this one and put it in the description box. If I can find a link to the company, I'll do that. But if I can find the name of it, I will say it's called Design Image or something like that. Anyway, we're going to do 3 butterflies, I feel. So this will go on to, won't fit on there. No, I wanted to do the big one. Have I got a page that's going to take this though? Actually, that will work well on there. Right, there you go. We're going to ditch that idea. And we're going to do that one. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to load my block up with my stamp. Are you in close enough? Maybe I can do, right, bear with me guys. I'm not really good at zooming in, so I'll zoom in a bit just to try and get you a little bit closer. So I've got a spare bit of paper here. I've already folded it in the middle because this is what I'm going to put my embossing powders upon. The embossing powder I'm using today is, it's a Stowcraft. Oh, Paper Mania, and this one is called Black Sparkle. Am I in the wrong place? Sorry, that was me zooming in, wasn't it? Paper Mania, which I usually get this in a shop called The Range. It's black, but it's called Black Sparkle. You can use whichever brand you want to use. I'm just telling you what this is because someone's going to ask me. I know you always do. You're very inquisitive. Right, let's move that to one side, that there. I'm going to use an embossing pad. It's just the embossing pad I've got. I tend to put the pad to the stamp, not the stamp to the pad, because I find if I put the stamp and dab it on the pad, I sometimes get stuff on the edges. I don't mind whether I do, I just would prefer to do it this way. Let's bring in my bit of paper. I'm going to line up the middle of the body with that line down the middle of those pages, and I'm going to give it a reasonable press. I'll let it think about itself for a second or two. Then I'm going to take this off. I'm going to have it over my piece of paper. So as you know, I'm not used to doing close-up. And I'm literally going to sprinkle on my embossing powder. I'm going to move it around a bit to make sure that it's captured every single piece of the butterfly. And then I tap. I tend not to flick the paper from behind. I've seen people flick it from behind. That tends to dislodge more of the dust. Now, this design is lovely because it's got numbers in it, it's got little bubbles in it, it's got curly cues in it. I wish I could remember the name of this company. It's so shameful because I've bought quite a few of their stuff over the years. Right, I'm just going to wipe my stamp off. You don't need to see me wiping it off because you don't need to see me wiping off. Let's take that out of the way. Now, for the next one, I'm going to do the little butterfly first. Oh, maybe we're not going to have enough room. Right, the little butterfly will have to go on to something else. Let's just do the little butterfly on this one. Right, so you're getting 3 butterflies, not 2. As I said, this is a great thing to do with other stamps you may have. like flowers and things like that. Sorry about that noise. I have done these in gold. So I'm out of shot, aren't I? I have done these in gold. I've done them in silver. I've done them in different colours. I tend to always go back to the black ones because I like the drama of it. But you can do it in any one you want. Right, this is so old, this, no matter what I do, it's lost its sticky. So I tend to just get my glue stick, give it a little dab on the back. It's water soluble, so it can wipe off afterwards. And that just gives me something, so it's lost its cling, but not when it's there. So let's just pull my piece of paper in. Put my lid on that so it doesn't dry out. Just come in and press. Right. You could, I suppose, use an embossing pen to draw something to do this. I haven't. So, because I don't have an embossing pen. Right. I'm out of shot, probably. I am out of shot. Right. Let me just have a little bit of a cleanup of the decks, guys, just so that I'm not knocking stuff over. I just fold up my piece of paper and pop that back in there. I've had this pot of embossing powder for probably 10 years. It just never seems to go down. Just never seems to go down. It's amazing. Right, so we've got our butterflies here. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, we've got those. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to emboss these with the camera running. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the volume down so that you don't hear it. Also, I like to use a clothes peg to hold my paper so I don't burn my fingers. Okay, unless it's a big piece of paper like this one, I'd probably not bother using the clothes peg because I can heat emboss this side and then turn it around and heat emboss this side without burning my fingers. A trick when embossing, heat embossing, is turn your heat embossing gun on, let it warm up for probably a couple of seconds before you start doing the melt. So I'm going to turn the volume down, guys. You'll probably hear it really faintly in the background. And we're back to full volume again. It doesn't take long. I just think it's absolute magic when that happens. I love it when you watch it and it just melts and goes back. So that's the little one. That's the bigger one. Right, now what I'm going to do at this point, before I do the next bit, is I'm actually going to come in and I'm going to fussy cut these. Now, I'll do one, but I'm not doing 3 because I'm going to pause the camera for it again. I like these little Tim Holtz scissors because they've got a serrated edge, and actually I like the fact that they've got a big enough handle for me to get my thumb into, although sometimes I wish the handle was slightly bigger. Am I still in shot? I find this zoomed in effect a little tricky. Now, I am trying to go around the edges carefully, but if I do mess up with a little bit, I can always go in with a black marker or something like that and actually just replace the bit if I've cut it off. Also, for those of you who don't like shiny black wings, and I get it, I understand that, I'll show you a trick later on how to get rid of them. Well, how to dull them slightly. I can't say get rid of them because it doesn't get rid of the shine completely. Now, with these butterflies, I never bother cutting out the antennae. What I tend to do is after I put them on my piece of ephemera or on my art journal page, I will actually just come in with a black marker and just draw in the antennae. So, or as my friend Gail Augustinelli calls them, antlers. There's some weird stuff in Helena, Montana, I tell you. Their butterflies have antlers, apparently. And off you come. So as you can see, it doesn't take that long to fussy cut one of these out. And then what I would do is, once this is cut out, it just goes into a box. And I will show you my box of butterflies at the end. Why can't I get that little piece there? There you go. So that's what my butterfly looks like. And I could leave it just like that, but I'll show you a few things we can do with it afterwards. So bear with me, and don't forget, some of these scraps would be big enough to use for something else. So bear with me, back in 2 seconds, I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to fussy cut these two, and then we'll get on with it. So I've zoomed out a little bit because I'm getting really disorientated looking through the camera, zoomed up when I'm not zoomed up. So as you can see, I've cut them out. I remembered the name of this company, by the way. It's Visual Image. I will still put a link to the company in the description box below. And I might even put a link to this butterfly if I can remember what this kit is called. It's got some other nice elements in it too. So there's one butterfly. There's my other butterfly. Now they are just paper, but they're a little bit more robust because they've now got the embossing powder on them. And also they've got a layer of gesso on them. And this is the little one, which is probably one I use most. Now, what I want to show you is, I'm not a huge fan of the ultra shiny butterfly, but the way embossing powders are, there is something that melts and ends up shiny. So what I do is I then take matte gel medium, whichever matte gel medium you want, and I just brush lightly over the top. And just to give you an example, so this is the one without the matte gel medium, and that's the one with matte gel medium. So it's not going to take away the shine completely, but hopefully if you can see, it certainly dulls down the ultra shine. Okay, right, let's leave those where they are. So what can you actually do, Louise? Put that back in the box over there. Let's pull in this mat again. Right, the little ones, I usually leave them like this. They work, if they do them with coffee dyed paper, they work great as well. As I said, I will show you my box of butterflies in a minute. Who are you going to? Leave the butterflies in a minute. Another thing I like, because these are actually embossed, if I take some markers, these happen to be Faber-Castell Pitt markers. They don't have to be this, guys. They can be any markers. I can just come in and quite quickly colour the butterfly in, and I'm going right over the top of my embossed lines because it's just going to resist the pen anyway, because pretty much it's plastic. And this is a really fast way to make your butterflies work in the colour scheme that you're working in. If you do have designs like on this one here, in the design are these areas that are meant to not have any ink on them, I can just come in with a black marker and fill those in if I wanted, just to make them disappear. So just come in, just finish this off quickly. As you can see, I'm really not caring that I'm being absolutely careful. You could come in and paint these. Because you've got a layer of gesso on them, I should imagine you'd even be able to come in with maybe watercolor, but I wouldn't do a wet on wet technique in these, because I don't know how they'd hold up, because it depends on the age and the quality of the paper you've got underneath. Mind you, saying that, you could quite easily make water paper, what am I talking about, a watercolor background, emboss your butterflies on that and cut them out. So that gives me a little butterfly that's all painted. Now this one I'm going to do, I'll put that in my box, with, this is the thing I love doing best with these. So I've got Distress Inks, this is Vintage Photo, could be any of them, doesn't matter, doesn't even have to be this company. Can't open up. And I like to come in now. Be careful because you've got paper here, and it's a bit fragile. So I'm just going to come in a little bit of circular motion. I like to just catch the edges of my butterfly wings. It's not great to go over the whole thing, but I do like to catch the edges and ends of wings. That's just really wanting to fold back on me, isn't it? And as you can see, you end up with a really beautiful vintage looking butterfly. And you could do this with any color. I just happen to like this effect because it's what I like. But if you've got any inks that you can use with the blending tool, that's what I do with them. So let's have a look at what I actually have, because here is the box of butterflies. So that's the one we've just done. That's another one that it's just left plain. I very often will leave them plain because I can always colour them up just before I use them. These are some of the ones that are done with my brayer off sheets from my gel printing. And you could do these with anything. I mean, you could, as I said, when I showed the scraps, you could do any of these patterns. I mean, these are the gel prints. And what you'll see through, I would say, always try to choose a small pattern size, because then you'll see more of it in there. But as you can see, this would just be waste paper from me doing gel printing. Okay, here's another big one that I've actually just used markers on. Here's another one of the ones like I've just shown you that I did with that on. So these are the copper coloured ones. I'm not overly fond of the copper for some reason. It's just, I don't know, I just like the drama of the black. But anyway, as you can see, there's a load of different things you can do. And these are great for little pops of accents on a cover, on a bit of ephemera. You could even use them down the side of an art journal page. So a little something from me, guys. As I said, I will put the link to visual image in the description box below because we've talked about that one. Other than that, just go through your stash of stamps. Go through your stash of scrap paper. You could do this with flowers, you could do it with butterflies, you could do it with shapes, you can do it with anything that you could colour in. Like I think somewhere I've got a really nice seahorse stamp. I need to dig that one out actually. I could do an embossed seahorse and do the same thing with that. I could do seashells, I could do fish, I could do birds, as long as you've got the stamp, you can actually do the embossing. Then from there on in, you're utilising old book pages and you're making yourself ephemera, which is pretty much all it's costing you is a little bit of time and effort. And then when you put that onto something, it just brings something that's personally yours. So hopefully you enjoyed that. As I said, just a little quick tutorial from me. So I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's C-E-R-I the Crafter. Until next time, goodbye now.